Capcom made so many amazing NES games that this list goes to 11. 8-bit joystick. Capcom was hands down one of the most influential game developers of the 1980s, 90s, and 2000s. The games that they made for the NES are legendary. My last video went over 10 essential NES games from Konami. Well, Capcom had to take it to 11. We have a ton of rad videos in the works, so hit that subscribe button so you don't miss them. These games are Capcom-pletely amazing. Now, on to the games. Mega Man. The original Mega Man is an amazing game. Over the years, I've committed so much of this game to muscle memory. It's an absolutely perfect action game, featuring some of the most incredible jumping, pattern recognition, and timing challenges you'll find on the NES. It not only showcases the strength of Capcom as a developer, but it also demonstrates what Nintendo's game systems were capable of. In its basic form, Mega Man is an action game where you play as a cute cartoon robot hero tasked with tracking down renegade robots. You have to defeat them to stop the mad scientists behind their rebellion. While I didn't realize it at the time, it's clear that Mega Man was heavily inspired by Astro Boy and the works of Osamu Tezuka, especially the whole professors, evil robots, and the distinct 1970s and 1980s Japanese cartoon vibe. But what truly makes the Mega Man series so special is the incredible tight level design and platforming. Each stage culminates in a battle with a robot master. Each was designed with a simple theme: Cut Man, Guts Man, Strength, Bomb Man, Fireman, Elect Man, and so forth. When you defeat a robot master, you gain their weapon as a power-up. These power-ups are crucial because they exploit the weaknesses of other robot masters. For example, Elect Man is weak against Cut Man's weapon, Guts Man's is weak against Bomb Man's bombs, and Elect Man's weapon can pretty much decimate everyone else. It's a rock-paper-scissors system that adds a layer of strategy to the game. Prices of Mega Man on the NES have really skyrocketed, and I'd like to point out that the Famicom versions are readily available. You can easily get the entire Japanese series on cartridge, much cheaper than you can get even one of the later US releases. Mega Man was a moderate success upon its release. Even if the massive legacy that Mega Man spawned never happened, I would still remember this game incredibly fondly. 1943. 1943, The Battle of Midway is an excellent vertical shooter from Capcom. While the home version of its predecessor, 1942, was outsourced to Micronix and was rather lackluster, 1943 is an incredibly fun arcade experience developed in-house by Capcom themselves. The World War II setting is a little bit surprising considering you play as an American pilot fighting against what is clearly the Japanese Imperial Army. Given that this was a Japanese-made game, it's amusing that they chose to make themselves the antagonists. 1943 is absolutely not realistic, but it prioritizes fun above all else. In addition to your standard shot, you can charge up a powerful energy blast by holding down the B button. Pressing A unleashes a loop-de-loop maneuver, consuming a little bit of energy but filling the screen with lightning and wiping out all the on-screen enemies. The game features hidden items and power-ups, and you'll eventually descend to engage in epic battles against battleships and other formidable foes. 1943 also saw releases on various platforms, including the NEC PC Engine and Super Graphics. Now you might notice that I'm using a turbo controller, so sue me, people did this back in the day. 1943, The Battle of Midway is highly regarded by shmup fans to this day, and it's an absolutely essential Capcom title. Bionic Commando. Nintendo didn't want straight arcade ports for the Famicom and NES, so Capcom took their arcade titles and created expanded home versions based on the concepts introduced in the arcades. Bionic Commando was a platformer with a twist. You can't jump. Instead, your character has a bionic arm that can be fired at a 45-degree angle to grapple you onto platforms, allowing you to climb and traverse the environment. You have this ability to climb and grapple, but there's also the constant risk of falling to your demise. It's fascinating how Capcom took a standard video game mechanic like jumping and completely turned it on its head. In the Western release, the Albatross Army is just a generic group of fascists bent on world domination. But in the original Japanese version, they're Nazis attempting to clone Hitler, and the game ends after you shoot cloned Hitler in the face. Totally worth the price of the mission right there. Sadly, we never got a 16-bit Bionic Commando game. There was a 3D entry and some 2.5D games on the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 that were quite good. Bionic Commando is an absolutely essential and creative game, and the NES version is an all-time classic. Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers! Konami wasn't the only company cashing in on popular media licenses. Capcom wasn't too proud, and they created some truly amazing games that could stand on their own merits. Chip 'n Dale's Rescue Rangers features the titular cartoon heroes who solve crimes, and you're relatively small battling other cartoon baddies, and the core gameplay revolves around picking up and throwing boxes. The gameplay is excellent. It's fast-paced with fun jumping and throwing mechanics. Chip 'n Dale's can be played both simultaneously, making this one of those games that delivers excellent two-player couch co-op action. I'm glad to see that this game finally got its due with the release of the Disney Afternoon Collection. Sometimes licensed games don't get re-released due to the complexities of multiple license agreements with different companies. Capcom's licensed games were not only some of the best licensed games, they were often some of the best games on the platform, period. Mighty Final Fight. It's hard to imagine just how influential and long-lasting Nintendo's 8-bit hardware was. It launched in 1983 and remained dominant for well over a decade. Even after the Super Nintendo's release, many players still had their NES or Famicom systems, and Capcom was more than ready to continue to develop games for them. Final Fight was a huge arcade hit, and one of the first games for the Super Nintendo/Super Famicom. Mighty Final Fight is a super deformed SD version, also known as Chibi, a cute anime style with large-headed versions of characters. Mighty Final Fight boasts some of the best animation and detailed sprite work on the NES. I personally love the graphic design of Poison. In America, Mighty Final Fight fell victim to the tendency of Americans to abandon existing hardware when a new generation of video game systems is released. As a result, some truly great NES games had a very limited print run at the end of the NES system's lifespan. Mighty Final Fight is incredibly expensive in the US, but thankfully the Japanese version is much easier to acquire. Also luckily, now there are many different ways to play Mighty Final Fight on original hardware, through a Japanese cartridge, an EverDrive, a reproduction cartridge, or if you're feeling particularly flush, you can cash out your 401k to afford its original US release. Mighty Final Fight isn't just Final Fight but 8-bit cute. It's a legitimately fun game that plays great and delivers all the beat-em-up action you could want. DuckTales, woo! Another shining example of the synergy between Disney and Capcom is DuckTales. This is a platforming adventure game starring Scrooge McDuck, one of the only billionaires that I can stand. You play as Scrooge McDuck, but all the DuckTale characters make an appearance assisting him in supporting roles. Carl Barks would be proud. You'll explore environments around the world searching for hidden treasures. The chief gameplay mechanic is the pogo jump. Scrooge McDuck can bounce on his cane, hopping around the environment with ease. You'll also use your cane to knock over objects and swing from vine to vine. He's a very active, foul fellow, if you know what I mean. It's also important to note that these games weren't just for kids. Everyone who played video games was into NES, and Capcom titles were some of the absolute best. Mega Man 2. We could have easily made this entire list about the Mega Man series. Mega Man 2 is a true evolution of everything that worked well in the original. It had you choose the order in which you tackled the robot masters, figuring out the optimal boss pattern. Much like Mega Man 1, defeating a boss grants you their weapon, and you can figure out the optimal order. For example, Metal Man's weapon is effective against Woodman, and so on. Mega Man 2 made extensive use of memory mapper chips to enhance the graphical complexity, pushing the NES hardware beyond what was possible in the earlier, less advanced cartridges. For many gamers, Mega Man 2 was their first exposure to the series. It's one of the rare examples where a sequel vastly surpassed the original in popularity. I'm not sure if there's any truth to the urban legend that this game was initially developed without Capcom executives' permission by some of the original team as a side project. It's an amusing anecdote, a fun urban legend nonetheless. Mega Man 2 was a great game in the 1980s, and it was a great game in the 90s, and it was a great game in the 2000s, and it's still a great game in the 2020s. Ghosts and Goblins, yeah! Released in 1985, this is actually the first NES/Famicom game to utilize a memory mapper chip. It's a conversion of their arcade game, and they brought all the challenge with it. Arthur is on a quest to rescue a princess from a demon. The game's 6 stages are teeming with, you guessed it, ghosts and goblins, and the challenge is relentless. Arthur is surprisingly agile, but he's also surprisingly fragile. One hit knocks off his armor, leaving him to battle the foes in his boxers. A second hit, that's a life lost. The controls are tight, which is crucial because Ghosts and Goblins is notorious for its difficulty. We're talking NES hard here. These days, everyone's talking about how tough Dark Souls is. Please, I'd like to see them beat Ghosts and Goblins. Thanks to the RAM limitations of the 8-bit hardware, the number of enemies on screen is somewhat limited, but they can still attack you from any angle with projectiles. Now, the beauty of Ghosts and Goblins is a sheer terror and a constant sense of dread that you feel while playing. It's an experience best enjoyed without save states. The whole concept of Ghosts and Goblins is a challenging experience that feels so good to overcome. They truly don't make them like this anymore. Today we have these sprawling 100-hour games that are all about accessibility. Ghosts and Goblins guarantees you nothing. No guaranteed progress, just pure, unadulterated 8-bit pain. But like a spicy hot chili pepper, it's a pain that's oddly satisfying. This game is not afraid to be aggressively spicy. Fortunately, you have unlimited continues. Section Z. Next up we have Section Z, another 1985 release. This is an enhanced version of the arcade game, expanded for the home console. Instead of being just a simple left-to-right shooter, Section Z introduces an element of exploration and, dare I say it, non-linear gameplay. A button shoots left and B button shoots right, and the game auto-scrolls through the levels. But here's the kicker. At the end of each section, you are given a choice of which path to take. This alters your route through the base, leading to different challenges and encounters. Capcom might not be known as a shooter company today, but they started with shooters like Vulgus and continued with titles like Sidearms and Section Z. This is a testament to their early mastery of the shooter genre. This is a game that rewards exploration and offers a surprising amount of replay value for its time. Sure, everyone loves to talk about Mega Man and DuckTales these days, but let's not forget that Capcom's roots are in games like Section Z. Gun.Smoke, y'all! Gun.Smoke, originally released on the Famicom disk system before coming to the NES. It's an arcade port and a unique take on the shooter genre. Instead of piloting a plane or a spaceship, you play as a rootin' tootin' cowboy taking out dirty varmints in the Old West. The controls are simple. A shoots left, B shoots right, and pressing both together fires straight ahead. Interestingly, you don't just fire one gun, you shoot akimbo with 2 guns for double-fisted, double-barrel action. Like many games of the era, Gun.Smoke incorporates a light RPG element. As you defeat enemies, you earn money, which you can then use to purchase new firearms from the townspeople. The action stages are a perfect fit for the Famicom disk system's RAM limitation. The game's complexity sits comfortably between earlier NES cartridges without memory mapper chips, and the later, more sophisticated memory mapper enhanced games. Aesthetically, it's a 1980s interpretation of old cowboy tropes. Problematic context aside, it's a good time. Gun.Smoke is a surefire bet for a rootin' tootin' bad guy blastin' 8-bit Capcom-fueled romp. Be the American the Japanese think you are by playing Gun.Smoke for NES. Little Nemo, the Dream Master. Little Nemo, the Dream Master, based on one of the first comic strip stars created by Winsor McCay over 100 years ago. The game stars the titular Little Nemo, who upon falling asleep travels to Slumberland. It is an excellent side-scrolling platformer where you can jump and throw candy at various dream creatures. Some of these creatures, after they've had their fill of candy, will let you ride them. Nemo can actually jump inside some of the monsters and ride around in them like a giant suit. It's a kid's game, so it's cute and not as creepy as that might sound. It bears a resemblance to an obscure Famicom disk system game that we never got in America, Konami's Biomiracle Bokote Uba. I'm impressed that they included many multiple animals to convey the animal power-up mechanic to the player all within the first level of the game. It's interesting that the Japanese comic convention for being asleep is a bubble of snot from the nose. When you throw candy at the critters, they eventually fall asleep and you see a bubble of mucus coming from their nose, signifying they're unconscious. You know, I feel like Little Nemo the Dream Master doesn't quite get the attention it deserves. We are always working on awesome videos on retro games and other stuff, so you better hit that subscribe button so you don't miss it. And hit that like button and tell YouTube that you like this video, it really helps out. This is 8-Bit Joystick. Stay awesome. Play retro.